Sorry, I just noted that I was speaking and muted. So welcome everyone. Thank you so much, you all, for being here. Hopefully others will join us as we go. And I see that we have some people zooming in from India, some people zooming in from Brazil, from the Central African Republic. We have another person joining in from Ankara, if that's the correct pronunciation. We have someone calling in from The Hague. This is awesome. We welcome Sarah. We have a chapter in The Hague. I'm not sure if you know them, Project for Equality. And I see our final speaker has joined. Sophie Sandberg is also here. So I'm really excited for this session. Thank you all so much for being here. And yeah, let's dive deep into it. So for starters, this session is on the importance of using crowdsourced data to address sexual violence. And in some cases, it's really, sometimes it might be really hard to really understand what's the importance of data and how can you connect data and statistics and analytics with such a humanitarian cause, such as, gender-based violence and tackling gender-based violence. And we're here to explore that. I'm so excited to invite our three speakers joining in from several different sides of the world. But before that, I would like to do a little icebreaker and see where everyone is understanding and how you're all feeling in terms of the topic. So I would like to ask our tech supporters if they could launch our first poll question. And as you can see, we have two questions, so please take your time in answering them. So the first question is, what is the key factors that you believe are crucial for the success of integration of crowdsourced data in combating sexual violence? So do you think that crowdsourced data is important to combat sexual violence because it ensures transparent and inclusive data, because it builds, because it overcomes challenges related to data privacy, or because it enhances technology accessibility for diverse communities? So yeah, please answer the questions and then go from there. So I see that we have one person saying that it is because it ensures transparent and inclusive data collection methods. Let me hear from you. Tell me, what do you think? What do you think are some of the ways that crowdsourced data? Yes, we have another person saying that it builds strong community partnerships and engagements. We have another person saying that it builds community partnerships and engagements. I talked a lot about that today. And then we also have a second question, which is, what's the most significant challenge when it comes to leveraging crowdsourced data to address sexual violence? So we have ensuring data accuracy and reliability, addressing issues in privacy and security, bridging the gap between technology and diverse community needs, and the last one is building trust and encouraging community participation. So we have some people saying that the biggest challenge is ensuring accuracy, it's addressing the issues of privacy and security, and also building trust and encouraging community participation. So yeah, I'll give you a little bit more time to fill out. We have around 50% of the participants filling out the answers. So yeah, right now we have, in the first question, 50% of you guys said that it's building, for the first answer, the most crucial aspect for
think the internet of Camila. Camila, your internet's not working. Maybe if you use the 3G. It's cutting for you all as well? Yes? So yes. while we wait for Camila to come back, we can also bring here in the chat. She asked what we want to learn, like what we expect to learn today. So maybe we can bring what we want to learn. And I'm Miriam. I'm from also. Oh, Camila is back, I think. Camila, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes. Okay, I am so sorry about this. We are in rainy season, so sometimes the connection just goes in and out, but I just secure a much more stable connection. So thank you. I saw that Miriam was taking the lead, so thank you so much, Miriam, for that. I think we can end the poll now and then just move on to our introduction of our panel speakers. What do you think? So first, just for you to see some of the results, and yep, that's it. So why don't we get started? So with us today, we have three amazing guest speakers. We have, we all come from very different backgrounds, and I will introduce them to you right now. So joining us from the great and large metropolitan city of New York, we have Sophie Sandberg. So Sophie Sandberg is a gender justice activist, talking artist, and founder of the popular initiative against street harassment, Catcalls of NYC. She leads Talkback, an international youth-led movement consisting in 150 catcall sites from around the world. Her work with Catcall of NYC and Talkback has been featured in the New York Times, BBC, CCN, Cosmopolitan, and NBC. She is an inaugural fellow of the Vital Voices and Tresamed Leadership Incubator for Young Women. She has presented her work to students at Juilliard University, Pratt University, Plan International's Youth Leadership Academy, the Think Peace Workshop for Girls, and the Youth Bridge Munich. So amazing bio. I'm so happy that you're here, Sophie. Thank you so much for joining. Also with us today, we have Miriam. I believe she started to introduce herself, but Miriam is an activist and founder of the Rise to Dream movement and Fábrica dos Sonhos, which brings she brings experience in managing and executing entrepreneurial projects focused on social, emotional skills, youth, and women's rights. In 7 countries, she champions the cooperative games and a culture of peace through the Project Corporation. She's a graduate of the Sweden Youth Initiative Program, and Miriam also participated in a UN Peace Conference in New York City. Both princes selected her to contribute to new economies, and the US government recognized her potential in the YLAI program. Miriam inspires positive change, leading an undeniable mark on the path towards a more peaceful world. So Miriam, thank you so much for joining us from Brazil, a really not so close town to where I am, but in the same country. So thank you for being here. And finally, we also have Sonali. Sonali Alves is the Senior Manager of Operations and Partnerships at Red Dot Foundation. Sonali comes from the aviation background and having spent 15 years in marketing and sales in the aviation industry. She's passionate about women's rights and enjoys working with youth. She feels very strongly about equity of women and safety of women and children. She feels extremely fortunate to be associated with Red Dot Foundation and to be able to make a difference, however small, in people's lives. So thank you so much, Sonali, Sophie, and Miriam for being here today. Quick introduction of myself. My name is Camilla. I'm the Programs and Outreach Officer for Red Dot Foundation Global. I am currently based in Brazil, and I work closely with Miriam, Sophie, and Sonali on crowd mapping sexual violence in so many places around the world. And as I said, today we'll talk about the importance of crowdsourced data in addressing sexual violence. So let's get started. So I have a first question, and I would like for the three of you to answer. And that question is, how has crowdsourced data played a pivotal role in shaping your initiatives to address sexual violence? So Sophie, why don't we get started with you?
Yeah, thank you so much, Camilla. It's so nice to be here with you all. Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, wherever you're coming from. So a little bit of background first about Catcalls of NYC and Chalk Back. A lot of what we do is collect stories, especially from young people, about their experiences of harassment, and then write them on the streets, word for word, with colorful chalk to raise awareness. So that's kind of the basis of the project. And going off of that, in terms of gathering crowdsourced data, the main thing that we've seen in terms of gathering data has been shifting the culture. Because so many young people, especially when they're first starting to get harassed and catcalled, do not know that it's harassment. They think, I must be doing something wrong. It must be something about the way I'm dressed. What even is this? They don't even know necessarily what's happening to them and why they're so uncomfortable. So by gathering the data and showing people the trends and the themes and the fact that this is linked to various forms of harassment, like following, stalking, physical harassment, really validates individual experiences from young people starting to face harassment. That's what we've seen with Catcalls of NYC. Beyond that, gathering crowdsourced data has also helped us gain resources and raise awareness about the problem. So in New York, the mayor's office just started a street harassment advisory board to really build resources around the problem, do bystander intervention training. So the data helps raise awareness about the problem and also gain momentum and resources for the issues.
Thank you, Sophie. And absolutely, I think when you have the data, when you have the information, and it's grouped together in a way that you're not highlighting a specific story, but more of a trend of a systemic issue, it's much easier to get the resources. And then with that, I would love to pass the word to Miriam, because she has a great example of how was that done. So Miriam, how has crowdsourced data played a role in shaping your initiative to address sexual violence?
Thank you so much for this space. I'm very glad to be here with you all. And I don't know how many of you have been in Brazil. So if you have been in Brazil or if you like Brazil, bring it here in the chat so we can know that. Well, to give a little bit of context, Camila can also support me in this. I am from Brazil and from the countryside of Brazil. And it is a beautiful country, but it also has one of the highest feminicide rates in Latin America, and 1/3 of the women, for example, suffered an episode of physical or sexual violence at least once in their life. We have like a girl or woman raped every 10 minutes, 3 feminicides per day, 26 physical aggression per hour, and we can't allow this to happen anymore. And if we talk about LGBTIQAP plus, it's easier to say that in Portuguese actually, but like if we say LGBTQIAP plus, yes, I got it. So if we talk about that, we also have one of the highest number of homicides against trans women, and this is very serious. We need to do something. So Dream Factory is an organization that I founded and that exists to make all the people be able to dream. Like we want everybody to be able to dream and have opportunities. And we are working so that we transform dreaming into a universal human right and the 18th SDG. And one of the things we need to do is to tackle violence so that more girls and women can dream more. And that's how we became a chapter of Red Dot. We are spreading the word, we are mapping the violence that is normally silenced, because a lot of people, they don't even know that what they are receiving is a sexual harassment or violence. And we need, before we just tackle, we need to bring awareness of the types of violence and give space in a safe way for their voice so that we can support. And one of the things that we did with Red Dot was to do it anonymously so that they feel safer to bring their voice. And they also feel that they are all responsible and they're all able to do something. And that's like just the start of how we're doing it.
Thank you, Miriam. And I just, right before I pass it on to Sonali, can you share a little bit of what happened when you saw the data and then you took it to the mayor's office? Because I think that's really powerful and it really shows how you address sexual violence. Yeah.
So, as I said, like the context of my city, so Brazil, this is the context of Brazil. The context of my city, I live in São Lourenço, I was born and raised here. And it's a place where normally people don't see like the violence. They really normalize things that they shouldn't. They don't have the awareness, or they think, oh, it's normal. They normalize this type of aggression. So we had many reports of things that happened, and some of them were really serious, and people didn't know the seriousness of it. Like we had two reports of human traffic, and the people that said that they didn't know that they were facing a possibility of human traffic. And this is really serious. And what we did was, as we are an NGO, we have a responsibility. We all have a responsibility as human beings, but we have a responsibility. So we did an official letter to the mayor's office, and we did also a letter for the councillors of the city, and we did also for the police, so that they could do something. So we recognized that there were a place in the town that didn't have a lot of light, and this happened the same place. So we asked for more police force, and we asked also to have more light, and the mayor is putting more light in these streets so that we can't have it anymore, and the police is passing by the street more and more. And this is just a small example of how we can use our voice to do something. And I think Red Dot's about that, like to bring these data together and see how, like, what are the same things that happen that place and the bigger red dots, so that we can do something, not just watch it, but like really take action and make a change. And we want to do that in all Brazil. Like, this is one of our dreams, is to really, like, that women and girls, that they feel safe when they're going home, and that they can be safe in their bodies, and that they can dream more, like that they can really be who they are without being afraid of it.
Thank you, Miriam. And yeah, and we're doing this all over the world. And I think this is a really nice segue to pass the word to Sonali, who has been working with Red Dot Foundation in India, which, brought the basis to everything that we do internationally. So Sonali, in your experience working with youth and working with crowdsourced data, how does this data play a crucial or pivotal role in shaping initiatives to prevent sexual violence?
Thanks, Camilla. And thanks, Miriam, because Miriam gave us a lot of context about the data that we have. But I think what we have to our benefit is that the data set that we have is huge. It is arguably one of the largest data sets, and that is what gives us so much credibility, because it's too big to be ignored now, right? So when we use this crowdsourced data, and we've done it in quite a few settings where we have used this crowdsourced data, we've gone to government officials, we've gone to police, and usually these are incidents that, like in India, like in many other places, are invisible. The larger red dots represent the incidents that are invisible to a larger extent, because nobody reports nobody reports staring, nobody reports being touched. Okay, nobody makes official reports of them. So those are we've noticed that the larger red dots are actually representing the invisible sort of incidents that happen. And because the data set is so huge, it gives us so much credibility that it's impossible for a government official, for the police, to ignore the data at this point. And I like, cite an example of a project that we did a while ago. This was one of our earlier projects of quite a while ago in Maharashtra, which is the state I'm in. But we did it in in the rural part of Maharashtra, and it was called Safe Maharashtra. So we worked in the rural part of Maharashtra, and it's divided into various villages and various blocks. And these are things that just aren't spoken about, like in many parts of the world. So what we did is here we worked with partner NGOs who worked in different communities. And as a group, what we did first is we set out to actually create this massive data set that we have. And how we did it was by speaking to people on ground. We had volunteers from NGOs, we had volunteers from our team, actually speak to people on ground, get them to talk about their stories, map their stories, and create this huge data set that we have today, which was then presented to the block development officer. So every block has an officer who's in charge of that. And then that became impossible to ignore, because this now represented all the incidents that even they were unaware of until then. So that really helped. And that's why I feel that, when you have data, and like Camilla said, we think of data and statistics as something that is very difficult to relate to humanitarianism. But on the other hand, it shows, it represents facts that cannot really be challenged that easily, and it forces people to sit up and take notice.
Thank you, Sonali. And I think one of the main recurring themes that I heard from the three of you was that, with the data, it becomes, and Sonali clearly said that, it becomes impossible to ignore that there is a problem. And Sophie, in your work, you mainly work with the cases of violence that people normally would never go to the police to do an official report, right? It's staring, it's comments, it's interactions that are like 2 seconds, 3 seconds, and that scar us. And then you take that trauma for such a long period of time. And most of the times that information is not getting to the authorities because, if it took 3 seconds, why would I go to the police and then have to go through an extensive process of reliving that through many times? I feel like in many cases some people might feel like it's even silly for me to go through all of that to report a cackle, to report someone that tried to who was staring me, who was filming me. So I think that you all mentioned that perfectly. The importance is really to make the invisible visible and impossible to ignore. Now, moving forward to our second question. So, in your work, and we'll start again with Sophie. So, in your work, how do you ensure that this crowdsourced data collection and the methods that you're using it are sensitive to the way that your community is affected to and by sexual violence?
Thanks, Camilla. Yeah, I think one of the most important things in terms of being sensitive to our community is making sure that everything's anonymous, which obviously Safe City does so well. And we explain to them that not even IP addresses are collected. So really prioritizing safety through anonymity is kind of like the core of what's so important to our community, because they don't want their name attached to it. They don't want it to be tracked to them. That's a very important central aspect. But beyond that, I mean, I think our community is so kind of willing and wanting to participate in having their stories heard and represented. So in terms of it also making sure it's inclusive of diverse communities, we really amplify the idea that street harassment impacts people for many different reasons. So a lot of people will share stories of street harassment that not only impact them because of gender, but maybe also because of sexuality or race or ability. And encouraging people to make sure that their voice is represented in all of its layers. So that's been something that's really important too. So anonymity, and also just, going off of the excitement that people have of making sure that their specific stories are represented.
Great, thank you. And I mean, for sure. And as you said, Safe City and all of us, when we are collecting any type of information, any type of data, and I don't even like to just say data because it makes it very impersonal. But collecting these stories of sexual violence, these experiences, it is so important to keep anonymity and to make the process simple. Because then again we face the same problem of why would I go through this extensive process to say that someone was staring me, in this at this restaurant. Um, so yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, also just to add, making it accessible through the ways that people already are using. So a lot of young people are on Instagram or are on TikTok, and they're writing to us and sharing their stories that way. So we oftentimes will offer, we can put it in for you, just give us the following information and we'll be the one to put it into the app. So taking away that step of having to go to a new app or try something new, and being the in-between for that has been important too.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, communities, and I would love to hear Miriam and Sonali's thought on this too, but communities often they're used to something. So in your case, as more of the younger population, the students, and I know that we have this is being hosted in the NYU server, so we probably have hopefully some NYU students here that could definitely connect with you, Sophie, later. Um, that they are used to one thing, and then I think in New York in specific, and the New York community it got to a point, and I think kudos to you and your work. It got to a point where people are willing to share and say this happened to me and I don't want this to happen to other people. And I think this is a direct impact of the work that you are doing with Catcalls of NYC and Chalkback. And they want to see the results, like even if that's a chalk of their story posted on social media, of course without their names. So I think that's also really important, really understanding, as you said, what exactly does your community want and need to feel safe, to create that safe space. So with that, I would love, Miriam, for you to tell us a little bit about how did you create those safe spaces and ensure, that your community felt comfortable sharing their stories.
That's a great question. What we did was, first of all, like, think global but act local. Every place has its nuances, so it's really important to understand and make like a research. So we are learning through the process, like learning with these actions. And one of the things was, well, we realized that a lot of people feel very scared when they see the forms in English, for example. So we translated and recreated the form in Portuguese so that more people can have access to it. This was very important. We also had some ideas that we tested, and some worked, some not that much. One of them was we developed a bingo with all the types of different violence, and we put in some bathrooms, and the idea was to make red dots in the place and also have the QR code, but it didn't really worked. It was a really great idea, but it was not what the community needed. So after that, we realized that translating and sending message to each one of the women and asking them as well what made her answer, how did she feel when she received the message, what she thinks that we can improve. These were some of the things that we did that made all the difference to have more people participating on it. Also, when we got the letter to the mayor's office and letting them know that because of their voices that happened, that they are making difference, this was really important, so that they felt seen and they felt belonging as well. And as Sophie said, being anonymous is one of the highest points of this work. because a lot of women, they don't go to the police. They don't say that they have passed through violence, because they don't want to go there and talk about it again. The experience is very hard, and or they normalize or they feel guilty. And when they see a lot of red dots, they start to believe, oh, it's happening with more people. I'm not alone in this. And I'm safe because I'm doing it anonymously. And maybe so this can support more girls and more women to not face that, or more people not face that anymore. And other things that we did that was really nice, we did the Democracy Week, where we had we painted a wall together, and we brought people and we did like some messages, and this was very fun and a way to do this activism in a fun way and not that heavy, because it's a heavy subject. And normally when we talk about gender violence, the rooms, they are empty, you know, like they go more and more empty because people don't want to remember or they don't want to talk about that. But we need to talk about that. We need to bring the conversation to the table. And what else we did? Yes, and also we did some lives on Instagram and brought awareness. We did we passed to the volunteers how like to make a speech about it, how to give a class, how to teach other people about it by learning it. And also when you teach someone, you increase your learning, your acknowledge of it in 95%. So I think this is one of the ways that we are doing it. I don't know if I forgot something, Kelly, but maybe you can support me on that.
No, I think you did a brilliant job. I think you said it all. And the one thing that I want to hear from Sonali as well, but one thing that I could, cross-reference between what you said and what Sophie said is that it's really ensuring that that your community, that the person that you're talking to, that the person that's sharing their story, they feel like they matter, right? So they are the only person that matter at that moment, and you're supporting them through everything. And then the second thing is being so transparent that they can see the whole process. So in Sophie's case, it was, getting the person shared on Instagram, and then they uploaded that on Safe City, and then they chalk the stories, and then they post the chalk on Instagram, and then that person can see that, what I said made a difference in some way. And in Miriam's case, it was, talking to them and then getting to them, helping them through the form, saying how you're feeling, how did that process made you feel, how did it go, and then later saying, hey, so because of your voice and the collective voice of so many more women, we're actually concretely making our city safer because we got the mayor to agree to do this XYZ. And then there's another aspect that I will come back to later, but that's artivism. Both of you used, and Sophie does it all the time, using art. But before I mention that, I would love Sonali to talk a little bit about, in India, how do we ensure and how did it work to make victims and to make people reporting feel safe and trust the process.
Thanks, Camilla. So I think, when I listened to Sophie and Vivian, I realized that it isn't really too different, whichever part of the world you're from, really. And whether we're talking of rural settings or urban settings, it's really pretty much the same, because it's a tough topic, all right? And let's face it, that nobody wants to discuss it. Everyone would rather avoid the topic, but there are discussions that have to be had. So one of the things that we do is to make people feel comfortable, to bring, to help them to talk. One very important thing that we found in India is language, because in India we have more than 100 well over 100 languages that are spoken. And language has a lot to do with how much a person trusts you. So, for example, if I go into a place and I start speaking to them in English, and they speak different languages, they're not going to trust me and they're not going to open out to me. So because to do that, what we've done is we've translated Safe City, first of all, into quite a few local languages. Second is, what we do is when we work with communities and when we try to get people to talk about their stories, we have people, we work with people from within the community. So we have what we call safety champions. So we train people, young people usually from within the community, to be safety champions. And as safety champions, their key role is to reach out to their community, to speak to them, to try and understand what the trends are, to get them to report, to get them to feel safe reporting. And when community members find that the person asking the questions, the person approaching them is one of them, they feel more secure, they're more open, they're willing to open up, and especially when they realize that the data that the stories that they're sharing is anonymous. So language has played a key role and is huge in the Indian context to actually get people to feel comfortable. And another big one, I think, is the digital divide. So there are huge parts of the country which have little, where there isn't that much connectivity, where people may not have access to a smartphone or to a tablet at all times. And sometimes we found that in rural settings, maybe there are two devices, two smartphones that are shared by several members of the family. Like maybe all the kids are sharing a single phone. And very often they don't have access to a smartphone to actually update, their story, even if they want to upload their story. So what we've started is having volunteers reach out to them, take down their story, or get them to put down their story anonymously on paper, and then we have someone actually uploading it, or actually putting it into the platform for them on the back end. And all of these are completely anonymous, because obviously when they write down their story, there aren't any names or any details mentioned. So that is, that's huge, tackling the digital divide. And in fact, something really interesting that happened recently is we were talking to a partner from a different NGO, from a different city, a different state in India, and we were talking to her with the view, from the point of view of maybe translating Safe City into that language. So one of the questions their team asked us was, can we see the reports in our state, in our city? So we said, yeah, sure, and we zoomed into the crowd map. And then they said, they picked a particular spot and they said, there's a red dot on that spot and I want to look at that. And then she said, this can't be right. There cannot be so many reports in that area, simply because people coming from this place is really remote. They don't have connectivity. They don't speak English. They don't speak Hindi. And how are you getting these reports? Which is when we explain how we get them, how we get people, we get students from different universities all over the country to actually speak to people from the remotest of spaces to penetrate these areas and get them to report.
Thank you, Sonali. And I think what you just said is so crucial, because in many of those remote spaces often is where we find that people have the least amount of information, and more access to things that might become violent, and then they don't have, I think that it's, in a way, it kind of like it's easier for them, or not easier, but it's exponentially they are more successful, I think, to violence, and then they don't have a voice to report that violence, right? And I think it's so important that we don't forget those spaces as well, that we forget that we're mapping out, yes, the most remote locations. And it's, and I think it's so interesting that you're zooming in and people are like, it's impossible that we have so many reports from there. And then you're like, yeah, we're actually, this is what we came to do. It's make the invisible visible, raise the voices for those who cannot speak for themselves. And that's so important. And then it becomes, again, what we said in the beginning, it becomes undeniable. It becomes impossible to ignore that there is a problem, whether that problem is systemic or whether that problem is, there is like Marian said, there's a space in my town that everyone knows is sketchy. Everyone knows it's, for some reason, is dangerous, but no one can really point out what it is. And people are like, I don't know. And then when you get the reports, they're like, oh, it was just a sexual comment because I got home safe. But if you read the story, it was an attempt of human trafficking. And then you're like, okay, so if we got 2 here, how many other women are going through this every day? Because, that when we looked at the data, it was at the same time in very similar situations, but just different, dates where people reported. But it was the same time, same location, same situation. How many other women we couldn't reach, maybe, that had the same experience? And I think what you said, Sonali, of reaching those who cannot, who cannot use their phones or don't have a phone, that's when we get really the stories that we really need to be highlighted. So thank you for that. And I have one follow-up actually from this conversation, and it's the topic that I said that I wanted to ask. And again, this is for the 3 of you. How do you feel, because the 3 of you have used it in different projects? Sophie uses it every day. Marian used it during Democracy Week. And I know that in India, we've done a few murals as well. So how do you think this segment or this piece that's artivism helps people feel safe in reporting their stories and make them more active? So Sophie, why don't we start with you, our expert on the topic?
Definitely. Yeah, I think, Sonali, what you said about it not being a fun conversation, I think that's a good place to start, right? Like, street harassment, sexual harassment is not fun to talk about. So then using something, in our case, like chalk, and actually having fun with it and providing joy and like providing a space where you can be creative in the face of something that's so upsetting, so traumatizing, so dark, is really important. So I find that when we get together and we have these events with young people where we're using chalk, even though the topics are so serious, there's still this kind of essence of like community and fun and joy. And I think that's really important too, to bridge into the data, because if we just go to people and say, hey, we want to collect your stories and just we want to talk about sexual harassment, it might not be as successful as gathering around chalk and drawing and being creative. So it's been really, really important and really successful. And I think that's part of why Chalkback as an organization has grown so much, because people love to be creative and to have the opportunity to be creative and to turn something that's really dark and serious into something kind of beautiful in order to share a message, an important message.
Thank you, Sophie. And I had it, it's not on my desk right now, but I had a book that we as Red Dot Foundation published, that's Art for Healing, and the importance of, like, if you're able to draw, if you're able to put those messages out, in a way, still in an anonymous way, but in a more creative way, definitely it has a powerful statement behind it. So thank you. Marian, what do you think? And what have you noticed?
There's a saying that says, a quote that says that art's gonna save humanity, and I truly believe that. Like, I truly believe, because in art you can say things and address things without saying it with words. It's beyond words. It's in another level, and can bring this awareness in another level. So it reminds me also when we were passing through dictatorship in Brazil, there were a lot of musicians that would put like this different kind of message in their art to bring awareness. So I really believe in art, and it touched my heart in a place that I can't even explain, you know, through poetry, through like painting a wall, through music and all kinds of art. And I believe that we have to give value to it. So having fun talking about something without talking about it, it can maybe sound, I don't know if it makes sense for you, but it can sound like very, you know, like how can I say, like very imaginal, like very without concrete action, but it is a concrete action when you bring people together. There is a lot of power when you bring people together, and when you build, like you do something together that people can see and that they can watch and say, oh, I did this, like it was there is a part of me in this. So this brings a lot of belonging. When you build a mural as we did together, people will say, oh, I was part of it. And when you are doing it, while you are painting, a lot of conversations starts. You create bond with people. And the painting with the rain, it will go away by some point. But maybe these learnings, these like bonds, the things that we created together in our hearts, this can last. And it's very powerful.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. And I definitely agree. I think as Sophie sending the heart said, yeah, I think it creates that bondage. And as both of you said, it's a different way to have a conversation without having specifically a conversation. And again, it creates community. Yeah. So Nelly, what's your take on that?
Yeah, so I agree. I mean, what Sophie said is so true, right? Because art just makes things fun. So, and you can say so much without actually saying it. So, one of the as one of if the one activity that we did in India was painting on a wall. We had to get permissions and stuff like that. But once we got permissions, we got a community to collectively paint a wall where there were men who used to stand and kind of catcall girls, young girls, as they went to school. Okay, these are young school-going girls. And these same girls painted on the wall. And do you want to guess what they painted? It was really simple. They painted eyes. That's all they did. They painted eyes. And the message was like, we see you. We see you and we know what you're doing. And that was so impactful because that, that particular street ceased to have that problem because the men who were standing there stopped standing there and the girls just felt so much safer. So yeah, it can be so impactful.
Thank you. And I think, that the impact of art as a way to, showcase data and showcase what's happening as a form, not only as a form of awareness raising and education, but also as a way to say, stop, we see you and we don't want you to continue to do what you're doing. And I think it got to the point, as you said, Sonali, it was so powerful that the perpetrators actually left. They were uncomfortable by the eyes painted by these girls. And I think, it's whenever we think about, what can we do to stop gender-based violence? We got so much data. We have currently in the Safe City app around 50,000 reports of sexual violence. And then if we take that, and this leads to my next question, if we take that to influence, policy making and governments, if we take that to the mayor's office, the first things that will always come to our minds are, improved lighting, more police. And in the case of, for example, Miriam, the reports were happening at night, the cases of human trafficking. However, today we see in the crowd map that the two peaks of when sexual violence happens is at 1 p.m. and at 5 p.m. So lighting isn't really an issue. It's daytime, most of the times is when you're going to school, from and to work, to the supermarket, when you're walking outside, right? So, and I think we have to think about these more creative ways of reclaiming these public spaces, of an engaging community, because through art, as you all said, you build community, you talk about things that people don't want to talk about, and then you also impact the perpetrators and make them uncomfortable and get them to leave and get them to stop. Because another example that I know from India is, in so many cases, these perpetrators of sexual harassment, they're not doing it because they want to harass you. They're doing it because they think it's fun to make you feel uncomfortable. They think it's funny. They think it's a joke. They think, in so many cases, they think it's a compliment. And they don't really see the impact that this has on you. And I'm talking about catcalling. I'm talking about staring. And, through these, and I know that when we did a bystander intervention program, we met this boy in India, and then he was a part of a group that were catcalling girls in front of a public restroom. And then after talking to him and showing him the data in a creative way, he was like, oh, I never intended to do that. It was just, we didn't have anything else to do. And then he became, an activist and started to tell other boys, hey, we're not supposed to be doing that. So that's also a really impactful, powerful way of tackling and using the data that we collect, the stories that are gathered in the Safe City app, to create positive and real change. So with that, I'll ask you our final question of the day, seeing the time, and if our audience has any questions to the panelists, please post them in the chat. But yeah, so how can, with everything that we talked about, how can crowdsourced data-driven insights influence policy making and help create more effective and targeted solutions to address sexual violence? So Sophie, why don't we start with you?
Definitely. So I think it's what we've just been talking about, and Camilla, what you just said, the power of education and bystander intervention, I think, is such a good path going forward for policy, and just raising awareness and sharing kind of the volume of these stories and what's happened can lead to more resources being dedicated through the government, through the mayor's office, to things like education and bystander intervention. And we're seeing that now in New York with the New York mayor's office actually working on bystander intervention training for young people specifically, which is really exciting. So I know through Catcalls of NYC and Chalk Back, that's kind of our main push in terms of resources, making sure that we're doing that education for young people so that in the future, these young people are going to grow up into advocates and activists and folks who want safe communities for everyone. So that's the core, I think, of the impact of crowdsourced data and gaining resources for making this change.
Thank you, Sophie. Miriam, what do you think?
I totally agree. I think educating young people, not just girls, like boys as well, and women and men, we need to bring them to the conversation and train them so that they can realize what's happening and do something. Also, partnerships are an important part of the process, you know, partnering with another NGOs, with schools, with universities, with the government, with the health sector, like the government sector of public health. This can really support in this work. What else? And also knowing that as individuals, we can do, like, we can bring our voice, we can do signatories and bring to the government, and as an official NGO, you can really like do other kind of things, as bringing official documents to them, or by partnering with NGOs, you can bring these papers to them. So this is really a way of doing it. And I believe that once we do something, really like get a result of the work we're doing, so as like the lightning of the street is a way of bringing together civil society and governments and second sector. I think this is one of the best way, like, to be together, to know that it's everyone's issue, and show that we can do something. It's not just sharing. Like, sharing is very important. Like, having the red dots, as we said before, is very important. But once we have actions, but some people need this concrete of something is been done. This, I think, gives more force to bring more people together so that we can do this movement. And I think our next step will be having the champions and the girls like really going for it and asking for different kind of policies so that this can never happen anymore. Because we know, like, I don't know in your countries, but I know that in my country is, I don't, even that we have this data of 1/3 of the women, I know that every woman at least once passed through a type of harassment or abuse, and we don't talk about it. And we need to talk about it so that this doesn't happen anymore.
Thank you. And Sonali, what about you?
Yeah, so first, I want to say that I agree with what Sophie said about bystander intervention, because it's so important that people around understand what they can do, and it's little things that they can do to help. And going off from there, we in the state of India, in Maharashtra, in the last 1 year, we've trained 28,000 people on bystander intervention, which and we kind of pair this with the crowdsourced data that we collect, and to do a more rounded and overall sort of intervention. And like we said earlier, crowdsourced data is just so powerful because those are the real stories, right? The stories that people don't report to the police, that people don't report to the authorities, the touching and the staring and the following and, the making me, it just makes me feel uncomfortable. Those are the real stories that nobody actually reports. And that's why crowdsourced data is so important, because people clearly understand that those are your stories and my stories together. So, and when you have the volume that we are able to crowdsource, it's just impossible to ignore, and it reaches the point where something just has to be done.
Yeah, thank you. And I think with that, I think that was a beautiful takeaway. Our session, the topic was, using crowdsourced data to address sexual violence. How can we use data to end it, or to move forward towards ending it? Because it's a huge, huge issue. And I think with that, we said, first, get your community to trust you. And then you're going to do that by listening to them. Second, make sure that they are part of the process and make sure that they feel like they matter. Third, talk about it in a creative way. and then get people to talk about what's not being talked about, get them to open up. And then when you open up, you have this massive amount of data that it's impossible to ignore. And at the point that it becomes impossible to ignore, then you have to do something about it, whether that is you as an NGO and then you get resources, as Sophie said, or whether that is government action, that's policy action. But when you get to a point that you have a problem that's impossible to ignore, that makes it so much easier to get actionable resources, actionable results. So with that, I'll thank you, the three of you, so much for being here today. I'll thank our audience, and thank you so much to our staff and tech that have been here and supporting us throughout this session. If you have any questions, I'm available. Sophie, you can Google Catcalls of NYC, Red Dot Foundation, and the Dream Factory, and then you'll be able to get in touch with us. And yes, with that, I will thank you all so much and wish you a happy Friday. And yeah, and I hope that the rest of the Data for Peace conference is amazing. Thank you all so much and have a great day.
Thank you so much, Camilla. Thank you, Sophie and Marian. Bye.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here with you guys. It was amazing. Hope you like it too.